Feels good to be back in front of the camera. What's going on, guys? It's Stevekaneki here, back again to bring you guys another review of Spider-Man Far From Home, completely spoiler-free. I'm not going to be breaking down any pivotal points, plot details, anything like that. I'm going to be just talking about things that I liked about the movie, characterizations, a little bit of the characters and cast, maybe some things I didn't like, just raw first impressions. We're going to go ahead and break this movie down. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, like, share this video to your friends and family who else is looking for some good first impressions of Spider-Man Far From Home. This is a video of 1 of 2. In video 2, I'm going to be breaking it down more as far as spoilers. We can go into full in-depth, spoil everything in video 2, but for now, we're just going to go ahead and keep it basic. I hope you guys like the video. Stick around. We got a lot to talk about. And now if you've seen a trailer to Far From Home, you know that Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury is in the movie. He has this very interesting take on the character that reminded me of Ultimate Spider-Man, the cartoon back in the day, where Nick Fury is trying to mentor Peter Parker. It's kind of like the Tony Stark relationship that they had, but I feel that Nick Fury's version, he's throwing Peter back into the gauntlet, making him deal with danger that he doesn't want to deal with. Peter goes on this little tangent, naming other characters, Captain Marvel and Thor. Nick Fury denies both of the requests and says that, you know, they're unavailable.
What about Thor?
Off-world.
Captain Marvel? Unavailable. But I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
Hey, you gotta step up to the plate that Tony Stark basically made you an Avenger. This is the responsibility that comes with it, so you gotta step up. Quentin Beck, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, aka Mysterio, he's in the movie as well. They both have this very, very good chemistry. It's like that Peter is trying to trust Jake Gyllenhaal's character. He's trying to understand what the snap did. They explain basically the snap by Thanos tore a hole in the multiverse. Peter goes crazy saying, oh, there's this multiverse.
We could use someone like you on my world.
Your world? Beck is from Earth, just not ours. The snap tore a hole in our dimension.
You're saying there's a multiverse?
It kind of made me think that, okay, here we go. This is the time where they're going to expose other characters. They're going to get into the whole, you know, we're not the only ones around. Like, what else did the snap do? But that's just for another time in another video, so I don't want to go into too much detail about that. But I really, really enjoyed the buddy cop system that, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal and Tom Holland had on screen together. The chemistry to me was perfect. They made each other laugh. They, you know, looked each other in the eye. They respected one another. And it was just kind of cool to watch another, I guess, father figure like Tony Stark talk to Peter Parker, especially after the events of losing Tony Stark in Endgame. Guys, I was really impressed with the aesthetics, the costumes, and the visuals in this movie. You can definitely see the budget when Mysterio pops up on camera. And when he's working with his magic and everything, you see everything, guys. Like, the movie is visually stunning. There was part of me wondering as I was watching the movie, is this 3D IMAX? Am I wearing glasses? Because it looked very, very real. I saw Aladdin and I was like, okay, the visuals in that movie look great with the genie and Will Smith. I wonder how they're going to do it in this movie with Mysterio and all the visuals as far as his powers showcasing on the front screen. And it looked amazing. I was blown away. Peter Parker definitely steals the show in his moments in his solo scenes when his costume, his black suit looked really good to me. Even the Iron Spider suit in the beginning of the film, it looked great. His new costume that's in the trailers, the red and black one. Everything in this movie, you can definitely see the budget, the visuals. It was amazing. Definitely top notch. I gotta give him props. I loved it. I believe Jon Watts is the best when it comes to directing Spider-Man films right now, because I think he's found that perfect balance between scenes with Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and just action sequences and just character building. He knows how to move the camera to where you see what Spider-Man is doing at all times. You catch all the action aspects of what would Peter Parker and Spider-Man do in a situation like this. There's catastrophe and danger happening all over the screen, and somehow John is placing the camera in the right spots to make Peter Parker Spider-Man look so good in every single sequence. I think he's just mastered the camera work, man. It just looks very, very good to look at, and I was very impressed. So I give all my props to him as far as future films with Spider-Man in the MCU. Peter is also trying to reveal to MJ, Zendaya's character, how he really feels about her. And every time he tries to do it, he gets kind of sidetracked. Like I said, it reminded me of Sam Raimi's version where Peter's trying to talk to Mary Jane, and every time, you know, some alarms go off, some sirens go off, something happens to where Peter is distracted and he has to step up to being Spider-Man again. So it's like Peter got frustrated with it. You know, in Tom Holland's version in Far From Home, they kind of play it off with a comedic relief joke. It was cool. In all honesty, it kind of got a little old. Zendaya was great as Mary Jane. She's very awkward. You know, she has good chemistry with Tom Holland on screen. I really liked her character in this movie. One thing I didn't expect them to do in the trailers or even in the movie at all was have the fact that Zendaya's Mary Jane finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
MJ, I am Spider-Man. No, of course I'm not. I mean, it's kind of obvious.
Or she guesses it. I was like, okay, so we're taking a new approach on the fact that Peter's trying to hide his identity the entire movie. That's cool. It was kind of different because at the end of Homecoming, you know, he's changing into the new suit that Tony Stark made him, and his aunt walks in behind him and finds out that he's Spider-Man. I'm not 100% completely against the fact that they want to expose his identity as Peter Parker. I just think it's a little rushed. I wish they would kind of wait to do that. Like in the Civil War comic book, Peter Parker was one of the first characters to unmask himself, and everybody found out he was 16, which put a big target on his back. It really made him a vital character in that storyline. Now all of a sudden they're just doing it for comedic relief, which I understand. It's a good marketing technique for the character. You know, you're teaching people like, oh, you don't have to hide your identity, you don't have to be something you're not, or whatever the case may be. If you want to go with that type of summarization, you know, for that type of reasoning. I just feel as a fan of the source material and the comics and the cartoons that you're pushing the whole sacred identity thing to the side. It's just kind of nice to watch Peter Parker find that balance of keeping his identity sacred, going to school, keeping his job, and at the same time keeping his relationship and his friends and family all intact while being a superhero. Now that you take his mask off, you've totally just erupted that whole storyline. He might as well swing around with no mask. There's no point of, you know, him wearing a mask now, and I just think that when they make his main interest find out, oh, you're Spider-Man, it's just like, okay, we've done this before, why are we doing it again? I don't know. I just wasn't a big fan of them putting that in the trailer. Now, I'm probably the only guy who thinks this, and I'm probably gonna get hate for this point in the video, but honestly, I gotta get this off my chest. The more and more you think about it, I think the relationship between Peter Parker and Mary Jane in Far From Home is rushed. Now hear me out. Because in Homecoming, he was more into Liz, you know. He didn't care for Mary Jane. That wasn't his interest. It's just when you take a 5-year time jump after Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, because Endgame takes place 3 weeks after Infinity War back in 2018. So it's been 5 years, so we're now in year 2023. They never express that in Avengers Endgame. They just say 5 years later. And in Spider-Man Far From Home, they never say it's been 5 years. They basically just talk about the fact that people have come back or whatever. We've gotten used to our new lives and everything is back to normal. We're happy the Avengers saved our lives. Okay, cool. We move on. Let's all be happy. But to me, the biggest problem with that is the fact that Peter's love interest, the arc just kind of falls flat. When I say that, I mean that Peter basically, in my opinion, had an off-screen love interest arc with Zendaya's Mary Jane. Because he's trying to go on vacation. Then all of a sudden he wants to tell her how he really feels. Compare this to the other Spider-Man films, Sam Raimi's trilogy and The Amazing Spider-Man by Sony with the first 2 films with Andrew Garfield. We learn about the love interest very early in the movie. Literally in the first 20 to 30 seconds, even the minute that the first Spider-Man movie starts, Peter Parker is giving this monologue about Mary Jane on the bus.
That girl. The girl next door.
Watson, the woman I've loved since before I even liked boys.
He's so into her. He's so in love with her. He wants to tell her how he really feels. Even his aunt and uncle are like, dude, just tell her, because they've been neighbors for basically 12 to 15 years or whatever. And in Amazing Spider-Man, they basically become friends. Peter goes through some hardships. He loses his uncle. She's there for him. He goes to dinner. He gets kicked out of the house when they learn about the feelings of Spider-Man helping the police, because Spider-Man is trying to track down who killed his uncle. Even Gwen Stacy's father says he's only targeting thugs that look a certain way. He leaves tracks. He's not a professional. He's leaving clues, and we're gonna find him. Peter Parker takes that very personal, and he decides that he can't really be around Gwen Stacy. But the love he has for her keeps bringing him back to her character. You see what I'm saying? Basically, in Far From Home, he's like, oh, I gotta tell her how I feel because it's the right thing to do. But we don't know anything about Zendaya's Mary Jane. All we know is she's a very snarky, sarcastic girl that's into Peter. Okay, that's great. She's smart, but we don't know any of her other likes and dislikes. We don't know anything. I'm not trying to go into spoiler territory, but I didn't like the love interest between them. It just felt very rushed. Like, I don't understand why they're into each other, besides the fact of they're kids and they have a crush and they're the hottest kids in school or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring this video to a close because there's only so much I can talk about. So I appreciate you for sticking around. If you really like this review of my Spider-Man Far From Home spoiler-free breakdown, please leave a like, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button because I'm almost at 50 subscribers. I've been getting a lot of love and support, and I greatly appreciate it, man. It means the world to me. My channel is growing, so any type of recognition is greatly appreciated. I'm always trying to look for the next best thing to review for you guys. I got Lion King coming up. I'm still working on my Ma review. I'm still working on my Aladdin review, and I just recently saw Toy Story 4, so be looking out for those. You know what to do. Ring that notification bell. In this video, we talked about the Mary Jane relationship with Peter Parker. We talked about the aesthetics and the visuals. We talked about Jake Gyllenhaal's relationship with Peter Parker, Nick Fury. A little bit about the elementals and the catastrophe, how John Watts is able to move that camera around and make Spider-Man look good at all times. But in my spoiler breakdown, we're going to go into full in-depth details of Mysterio. We're going to talk about the future of the MCU. There are 2 post-credit scenes, so make sure you stick around for those because in my next video, I'm going to tell you guys my theory on how the MCU is going to move forward, especially after that second post-credit scene. So my name is Stevekaneki. Appreciate you watching the video and stay blessed. Catch you next time.